Well, thank you all for sticking around. We hope to make this last presentation very lively, very informative, something that you can take home back to your offices and use on a regular basis. So again, thanks for staying with us. We'll go through a quick round of introductions. We're going to have a quick presentation of some insights and research that we did, but then we're going to have a lively panel discussion. Again, Todd Mazurk, I'm a member of Visa's Seller Solutions team, really focused in on merchant industry segment strategy. A little bit of background on myself. I come from a small business background. My parents owned a bakery in Buffalo, New York. And I literally grew up, my playpen was in the bakery. I always gravitated towards the cash register. Yes, it was mainly cash versus cards, but have a great empathy for small business operators and what they go to, and glad to be working with Visa to help small businesses. But let me transit over to Diana to lead us off with other introductions.
Hi, I'm Diana Unai. I manage social media for Authorized.net with Visa.
I'm Wendish Potter with PaySafe. I'm VP of Product Delivery, so working across many different verticals and many different sales distributions to deliver the best-in-class products.
Good morning, I'm Josh Park. On the Authorized.net CyberSource side, look after our FI and ISO partners.
Great, thank you, group. We'll definitely be hearing from them in a few moments here. So, of course, notice of confidentiality, we'll move past that really quickly. But what we're going to be talking about today is really helping increase SMB payment volume in the digital world. And it really is helping small and medium-sized business operators with their digital transformation. And one of the key stats that we did, we did some research last year. We published a guide that, and a lot of these data points you see here are coming from that guide. But one of the key things when we research the voice of the consumer is they really do want to support small and medium-sized businesses. 87% said that they want to support those folks. The other key thing is that the same, about 80% of them also prefer digital mechanisms, digital commerce, to interact with small business operators. And that's a key statistic. So when you're out there trying to work with the SMBs and convincing them to incorporate your solutions, you need to be able to express to them that consumers are saying that yes, while they want to support you, they also are demanding these type of experiences, and therefore you need to invest. And the key thing is that we see only 46% of SMBs are selling online. That's just one statistic. Again, this isn't just about going online. This is about the broad digital commerce interaction that you as small businesses need to have in here. So again, as you look at this research and this insights, which is available to all of you, hopefully you're taking it as a way to help with your new sales or account retention, or also as you're having conversations with your SMBs, illustrating some thought leadership in the conversation with them. So one of the other key things that we are very proud with our research and our insights is that we actually seeked out endorsements from various key trade associations, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the National Restaurant Association, as well as the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and America's Small Business Development Centers. So that's also very helpful for you to, as you're having those conversations with your small business operators, you can leverage these insights knowing that their peer trade associations have endorsed the data and the insights and encouraging their members. They've all had webinars and other programs to actually advocate this message. So you're already have that advantage in those conversations. What is the impact of digital payments? So we did research on both consumers and small businesses. So again, not surprising to the group in here, but hopefully insights to small business operators when you talk to them, is that 78% of consumers have said that they prefer digital payments. And that card payments is their #1 option. 74% agree that, now this is from SMBs, 74% of SMBs have said digital payments helps them manage their business more effectively. So again, this is from the SMB's point of view. I think the other key statistic that's in here for you all is that we have, based on the research, computed that digital payments is 57% less expensive than non-digital payments. And this is based on the research from small business operators. So as you're having those conversations about, why should I take digital payments, it's so costly, et cetera. You can have these data points to illustrate the value that it brings. And again, as an industry, what we really want to do is encourage those small business operators to grow and welcome, not only accept digital payments, but also welcome digital payments as the preferred method of payment. And again, hopefully these data points will facilitate your conversation with those small business operators. So one of the other key things that we all know, but again, here's the data to further support about it, is that digital payments, of course, may help improve revenue. What we've seen from, again, the data from the small business operators is after they accept digital payments, we can see the increase in sales that you see across all the different segments from micro to medium size, and of course, retail to services. We see, of course, a tremendous growth in the services businesses. Now, for us, services is very broad. It's everything from the hair salons and auto repair, but it also is the professional services and contractors, and that's a great area of growth for all of us. And we can see that the revenue potential, as especially people prefer digital payments, for you all to look at that different industry segment. Now, again, I want to spend a little bit more time looking at the consumer preferences based on our study for digital. 66% of consumers believe that they can envision a world where they will only use digital payments. So again, a need to invest in making sure that you can service your consumers. 66% have surveyed only can use, again, their payment card. 82% dislike shopping with businesses that require minimums and surcharges. So again, this also goes into the discussion of welcomed acceptance, as you're making sure that you can make sure that your small business operators can manage in that environment. We can then see their preferences for digital channels. Again, shopping online, 52% of consumers prefer to only shop online. 80% prefer the digital related benefits of an easy to use website, digital loyalty programs, et cetera. So again, as you are also providing other services to those small business operators, you can make sure that you're presenting those options as well. But again, we see that there's still a great opportunity because there's still a lot of small businesses who are not selling their products through these digital means. So a good opportunity for you to grow that. Now again, as we look at the importance of digital, you can also see that what consumers are saying relative to that having an easy-to-use website. So one of the key things as you're having conversations, it's one thing to get that initial sale in of saying, yes, sell on e-commerce, but maybe having the conversation with them from an account retention discussion about making sure they're investing in making sure their website is easy to use. Are they looking at other competitors? Because as we know, the easier to use that website, the higher the conversion, the higher the payment volume, and again, which helps us all. And again, since consumers are looking at saying they're predominantly going to use digital channels, this hopefully gives you the data to encourage a small business operator to invest in these type of mechanisms. And again, hopefully this data further suggests it. And again, this isn't just a retail component. Having a good online presence for a restaurant is equally important. Now again, this is a little bit of an eye chart. We do have brochures as you're leaving the conference at the Visa booth that has all of this information and especially this chart. But one of the key things that you would see in here is what consumers are saying that they would like to see from their digital. Everything from free shipping, but my favorite one is ability to view your menu online. So as you have your conversations, this isn't always about just promoting the digital commerce, but it's also promoting what features and functionality that they should have to help drive sales. And again, hopefully this type of conversation, again, will enable you to increase payment volume, but also illustrate your thought leadership as you have this type of conversation with your merchants. The other key thing is loyalty is very important. And what we can see here is while a lot of SMBs who have launched a loyalty program have seen great sales in terms of 85% repeat business, 80% average higher transaction size, 74% higher revenue, but most SMBs are not planning on launching a loyalty program. And again, since many of you might also promote loyalty solutions, this might be an opportunity to use this data to promote the loyalty or have that conversation. But again, these types of information will help further increase digital commerce is maybe their loyalty program also includes things like card on file. So some areas for you all to consider at promoting or how you can leverage the loyalty data in your information. So what I just did there was a high-level presentation. It's a 50-page white paper that you can all download. We have assets there for you, whether it be a webinar or other information, to help you leverage this information to have great conversations with your small and medium-sized business operators. But at this point, I want to turn it over to Josh to facilitate a great conversation with our panel to further talk about digital transformation. Josh.
Thanks, Todd. So it's an exciting time to be a small business right now, especially in the world of payments. And we hope to facilitate here a discussion that's engaging and meaningful to you. And as we look across what small businesses are facing right now, there's a lot of opportunity. There's no question that with digital disruption that's happening not only in our industry but in other industries. It used to be that we actually had to go and buy a CD, and now we can listen to our music by just at the click of the button. We can listen to our favorite song, and the same with movies and so on. And especially as the millennials are really taking over our demographic as we speak, they're very technical. But I think it goes beyond our millennials as well. I look at my 83-year-old grandma who has got a Facebook account. She's on Instagram. In fact, a few weeks ago, she told me she made her first online payment. So we're in an interesting time. So Diana, I'm going to shoot this first question at you. Diana sees a lot of what consumers and merchants are posting on social media. But Diana, give us a view of the merchant, and give us a view of what are they saying out there when it comes to digital disruption and payments in general.
Sure. So I feel really grateful that through social media I get to see what our merchants are saying, but then also really lucky in my career that I get to go out there and meet with merchants. I mean, the most valuable thing that we could possibly do is meet with our merchants to find out what they need and what they're looking for. And with going out to customer success stories and learning about what tools they're needing or using, and then listening to them on social media, we get to learn a lot about that. And I have an interesting perspective because I actually was a merchant of Authorized.net for 10 years. And so I understand what it's like to be a merchant, and then also now meeting with merchants and finding out what their needs are. And we're really finding as we meet with people that obviously the digital transformation, a big part of it is extending the reach. Like you said, like Todd said, so many merchants out there aren't selling online yet. The e-commerce part isn't a huge part of that, and which is crazy because once these merchants are adding online payments, they're extending their reach, by so much. And so that part's really interesting. I do remember my first day of starting Authorized.net, and my boss said, gosh, as a merchant, what other digital tools are you using? And a lot of our value-added services that we have, like Advanced Fraud Detection Suite or Account Update or Customer Information Manager, and I was like, I don't know. I've been so busy working, in my business that I didn't have time to work on my business. And I think that's really typical of a lot of small business merchants, that they are so, crazy busy working on their businesses that they honestly don't even know that a lot of these tools exist. And so when they find out about it and they actually implement it, it's unreal. And so what I love to see are quotes coming in on social media, and we actually posted some of them on the screen here. And one of my favorite ones was actually from Lens Direct that came in, and he just wrote on social media, "We love you guys." And I was like, oh, this is nice. And he said that since implementing Account Updater, they've actually seen an increase in 30% revenue, which is unbelievable. I mean, just for, because they were losing so many of their current their current customers because, needing to update a card on file there, it would, the card would be expired or lost or stolen or something. And so they just couldn't believe that this one digital tool that we were offering them could make that big of a difference. And we just keep finding it, so many, like this one quote from Cameron Hughes Wine, the fact that They want, they spend their days and their nights. I mean, they're so passionate about their customers and making that customer experience as easy as possible that they said, whatever's going to make it easier for our customers to check out is what we want. And so they said, customer information manager makes it easy. They don't have to re-enter their details, their car details every time. And they just love us for that. So I think it's really about the education that, these merchants are so busy. How can we get the word out there that, hey, these exist? A lot of them are value-added services. You just have to take some time to get them implemented.
Yeah, thanks, Diana. And I'm actually curious, a quick follow-up question to that is, as you were starting your small business, like as you looked at payments, sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating, to see all these digital tools that are out there. But just tell us a little bit of your first experience of seeing what was out there and then being able to implement it.
So my experience is really similar to when I talk to our merchants out there, is that I think merchants just want it to work. So I honestly didn't have any time to think about payments. I'm like, I just want to be able to accept payments. Like I invented something. People want to buy it. I'm like, how do we, obviously you need to accept money for it.
Yep.
And so really, I just wanted it to work. And as we go out and we meet with merchants and we interview them, they always just say, we just want it to work. Like we don't really care how, just make it work. Make it so I can accept payments. And so, it's funny, we just, every single merchant I talk to actually says that. And that's what they like about Authorize.net is they say, it just works. And that's what I need it to do. It just works.
Thanks, Diana. Want to shift gears just a little bit, and Wimbish, we're going to come at you a little bit here. So Wimbish provides a really good view into the acquiring space. And as we look at this digital transformation that's taking place, and we see that small businesses are now extending their reach. They're able to take payments with a mobile device. There's contactless. There's a lot of new, in-store and card-present capabilities that are coming out there. But Wimbish, what are you seeing out there from an acquirer's perspective when it comes to these small businesses and their needs?
Well, what we look at is voice of customer. Again, very similar to what she was saying, is we hear from our small merchants that we want it to work, right? And it's overwhelming. And they're one thing about small merchants today is before they place that phone call to look for processing or solution, they've done their research. So that online to offline experience is there. So what we have to make sure is that we know what our competition's doing and we're educating so we can answer the questions. They're savvy. Those people out there, those small businesses are very, very savvy. But in a lot of ways, we're savvy as knowing the solutions, but they're overwhelmed at the same time saying, what is it I really need? And so, when we're looking at it, we call it the consultative sell. What we need to do is we listen to the small merchant and we need to respond with the right solution and then slowly feed them all the advantages in the sales process. When you're listening to the small merchant, they're like, but I need this, but I need this, but I need that, but I don't have time to do it. So a lot of that is the challenge, and they're looking for that digital transformation because they know it exists and they don't want to be tethered to a fixed use case. They want to be able to be nimble and move around and have flexibility, because that's what what this transformation is offering small businesses. It also is offering that growth. So, when you look at a merchant, we look at a merchant for life, right? How can we deliver something and then grow with that merchant? And delivering the right solution and the right technology is very, very important to that for us.
Got it. Yeah, great outlook that you've got, Wimbish, when it comes to looking at acquirers and how they can assist these small business merchants. But a quick follow-on question, Todd, in your presentation, you had mentioned that 78% of consumers would prefer to pay digitally. That's a pretty high number when it comes to these merchants providing this to their consumers. But I'm going to come back at you, Wimbish, a little bit on this, and just as you look at that, and as your folks are having these conversations with merchants, how do they inform these merchants of this high need, and do the merchants, are they already aware that they need to be moving to this digital transformation?
I think they're aware of it, but they don't know how to do it. And that's our job, is to teach them what is out there. I'm not going to say it's a flooded market, but there's so many solutions and they're confused. And they know they need to do it, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to make the leap. And, a terminal makes me feel comfortable. I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it. It's reliable, it's the workhorse. Changing someone, it's like changing from a cash register to a point of sale, then to digital. That's a big leap for a lot of merchants. And I'm not going to talk about necessarily the demographics of our country, but we do have a large baby boomer population that doesn't want to move into the digital world. They're hesitant because it's uncomfortable. So what we have to do in making that digital transformation, yes, the millennials are up and running and it's very intuitive to them, but like your grandmother, like to do an online payment, it's the trust factor, the comfort factor, the fraud factor. That's what this population's dealing with. And so,
there was a reason she was so excited to tell me she made an online payment.
Right.
It was because it was a big step.
It's a huge step, and you want to encourage that step. And once they feel comfortable and educated and secure, that think about it. Someone's not going to steal my credit card information. And, like I said, I sell in security. And I opt out that as one of my solutions. It's secure. It's got some great fraud detection within the solution that I sell on that, right? I sell. We've got fraud prevention. Don't worry about it. You're secure. So you really have to educate them and make them feel comfortable to get that transformation to happen. And then once they dip their toe, you can take them further and further along. And we've seen that growth by doing that.
Yep. Great input and great insight. As we look at the future of payments, we've all seen over the last several years this transformation occurring. It's no surprise to any of us, but I'm actually going to put each of you on the spot with this question. But as we look at the future of payments, what do we see over the next couple of years when it comes to these small businesses? If you were to say one or two, quick hitting items of this is what merchants should really be considering, and this is whether it be the security of the payment, whether it be the speed, the convenience, or whatever it may be. If you could just kind of boil it up into one or two items, and I'll just leave it open to the panel of what those would be. What would you guys say?
Starting off, I ultimately think that merchants and even small merchants really need to think about this from a payment experience and how they run their business and how they can use payments to facilitate a conversation with that customer, right? And if you think about it, if you can move those customers, and again, I'm a firm believer of transitioning to card on file, where things are really moving away from always having the card, because if you get that, you now can build that loyalty and that dialogue with the customer. But more importantly is you could probably find a way of making that checkout experience become more easy and become more delightful, and you're actually spending time getting to know your customer. That's the key thing for a small business. I look back again as my parents, like we knew all the customers. In today's world, you can actually use digital to deepen those relationships, and that's what I'm hopeful to see in the future.
And Todd, you bring up a really good point right there is, if we look back 40, 50 years ago, these merchants knew their customers. They knew when John came in, they knew what he liked. They had inventory stocked for him, when he came in. They really did know their customers, and we've gone away from that a little bit, but it seems like we're now coming back, with loyalty, with the experience. We're trying to know our customers again. And that's in my mind, that's where these small businesses are going to win and lose, is the ones that jump on the train, so to speak, and start to move with the transformation and know their customers again. Those could be the winners.
But when you know your customer, then it allows for you to grow your business. And obviously we know in the small merchant space, when you start a business like your parents or like you did, there's a big risk involved, and a lot of those merchants don't survive. So you see a lot of high churn, and a lot of people, as they're moving to digital, they're labeled micro merchants, but they're not micro merchants. And I really want that term to change and just call them all small businesses, because those dog walkers are making a ton of money and they are growing their business. And so for us to be there to catch them and to nurture them into, I'm one dog walker, but I can expand my business and I can have another dog walker and I'm making good volume. That's what we're looking at, and we're looking at that how do you crawl, walk, run with these merchants, and how you support them so they know that they can get, I started here, but I grew, I succeeded. I didn't fold shop, right? And because of my relationship and because of what I know about my customer, I can grow, and I'm gonna grow over here because I have the intelligence and all of that. I mean, I think a lot of people know that the first thing to put a small merchant out of business is a security breach. And that's really scary. So you secure them, and then you grow with them, and you kind of love them a little bit, and you can do that, right? And so that knowing your customer and helping them grow, and us knowing our customer, it's like this beautiful life cycle.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and it's, I think it's a super exciting time because of these digital tools. I mean, before only enterprise, merchants had access to this, and now because of digital tools, the small business merchants can do more than they ever could, and that's what's changing everything. I mean, being able to extend our reach, and being able to have tools that actually, alleviate some of the work for them. I mean, they can do things that they couldn't do even 10 years ago. And so it's kind of a time that everything is changing, and these small businesses can grow and be more successful than honestly they ever could.
They're not asking why, they're asking how.
Exactly.
So we need to respond to their question of, how do I compete with the Starbucks? How do I do this? You have the tools. Mm-hmm. How do I do it? And that's where we fill in, and we need to show them how. Right.
Well, great discussion. We could probably go on for another 25, 30 minutes, I'm sure, with this conversation. In fact, Wimbish, as we were coming on stage, she said, it's almost an injustice that we have this the very last topic, because small business and digital transformation is a big topic. It's happening right before us. And so we want to thank you for your time. And unless the panel, if you've got any closing remarks,
Yeah, I got one, just because especially what Wimbish was mentioning about generational. I think you all need to think about this, because we have some great case studies in the guide. Again, you see some of the great quotes here. I encourage all of you to identify those great case studies. The one that comes to mind is Amy's Apple. I'm going to butcher Amy's last name. Amy is probably more in the our age and maybe a little bit older. But more importantly, is it illustrates that older merchants can come online. And one of the things we've seen is that those peer stories is what's going to help you convince other merchants to do this. And I encourage you all, especially as you're managing it, is to get your own stories and to look at different demographics, so that they can appeal to, yes, Amy is more like me, and if Amy can do it, I can do it, and if she's one of your customers, then I can do this too. And I think, again, it takes a little bit of time to maybe work with a couple, but then you can scale those case studies to others. So that's I think my last remark, and I'm glad to hear some of those points.
And Todd, I'm going to build on that just a little bit, because Wimbish made a great point about the terminal. We can see, touch, feel it, but a lot of these merchants, when we bring those use cases before them, they start to feel touch when it comes to digital payments. Digital wallets all of a sudden becomes real. It's not just, it's on my phone somewhere, and how do I use it? It becomes real. So, great. Any last closing remarks?
Well, one of the things that I like to talk about is vertical penetration. And when you're looking at digital transformation, a lot of people think restaurant, retail, but there's so many verticals out there that, I always say I go left, because I try to find the verticals where no one's servicing the vertical, so I can teach them and grow them. And so the digital transformation is helping us also have feature functionality that's relevant to maybe not your average vertical. And so teaching those verticals how to do this is actually growing. It's actually within my portfolio specifically. I started with one pie chart, and I've totally taken over and gotten 2 big areas of growth in verticals that weren't really on our radar, because I was able to do a digital transformation and teach them how to do it. So it's also about expanding beyond what we consider the traditional restaurant retail and going left and finding those underserved and saying you can do it, and they can. All the features are there for them. So go find a vertical that's not tapped and call me.
Yep. Well, great. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for sitting through our panel discussion. I hope you found it helpful for you. And we wish you all the best as you embark on this journey of digital transformation and supporting the small businesses. And good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks.